2 is entering its 7th day, so I thought it'd be a good idea to do like a 1-week roundup, the good, the bad, and the salty. It has been a really interesting week for Path of Exile 2 because a lot of players are really enjoying it. A lot of players have things to say about it, and there have been some patches and updates that have definitely rattled the community, all in this early access that has been released. So what is my history here, and why am I talking about this? So I did not expect to love Path of Exile 2 the way that I do. In fact, I feel like an addict. I'm just sitting here, just like at work, like scratching, just like, man, I got to get back to my character. I got to make him stronger. Basically, I love this game. It's the best game I've played in probably the last 5 years. I have not been grabbed by a game like this since, believe it or not, Ghost of Tsushima. I play a plethora of different games, and the last time that I was enamored by a game was Ghost of Tsushima. I just got lost in that world. Have your opinions about that if you may, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I was checking this out because a lot of YouTube channels were like, hey, Path of Exile 2, it's going to be this new game. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be great. I was like, yeah, talk with my buddy about it. My buddy loved the original one, and he bought the $100 pack and might even go even further to give them extra money because he's having a great time with it. He bought it for me and said, here, if you'll play this with me, then yeah, here you go, man. I'll help you out. And I was like, cool. I blame him for this, by the way. I blame him for this. So if you guys have a problem with my takes on Path of Exile 2, you can blame my buddy Matt. Please blame him. Anyway, getting into this. So, like I said, this last week in Path of Exile 2 has brought out a lot of opinions on the internet, but one of the things that I was looking at today were reviews that were posted on Google, reviews that were posted on Steam, the player count numbers of the original Path of Exile versus the player count numbers now, how they're holding out throughout the week, and we'll talk about some of the nerfs that they've done here at the end of the video. But this is, like I said, the 1-week roundup, and as always, I'm going to drop my controversial opinions that you guys are gonna 50% dislike on the channel. It's awesome. I don't care. It's great. I do this because I love having conversations with people, and no conversation is worth having unless you have a little bit of resistance. Kind of like in Path of Exile when you get a little bit of resistance there. Anyway, I digress. So the first place that I want to go over is to the Steam DB charts. I clicked the wrong button. I don't know why I did. I don't. Anyway, this is for Path of Exile 2, and over the last week it has been doing very well. It peaked on Sunday with 578,000 and has maintained a really strong player count throughout the week. You can see, obviously, as it gets later into the evening, the player count numbers come back. Surprisingly enough, it is maintaining a decent player count throughout the week. This is a really strong open for what will eventually be a free-to-play game, but it is a $30 access to the early access game. And to be perfectly honest, what I thought was really cool is that when you give them the money for it, they actually give you the in-store credit, so you can exchange that $30 for stash tabs or microtransaction stuff that they'll have in it. It is not pay to win, thank God. I'm so glad it's not pay to win. And everything that you get is cosmetic or quality of life. So I'm glad that they don't do that. But yeah, right here, this is a really good sign that the game is actually holding out. It means a lot of players are coming back and playing it and having a really good time with it. This was a weird dip right here. I'm not quite sure, but that was this morning. That's weird. But to go back and compare it to the original Path of Exile, the original Path of Exile here peaked at 229,000, and that was 5 months ago. And you can track the last year. You can see, obviously, when they release big updates or major leagues, I believe that they're called, you can see that the players come back, they return, they complete the thing, and then obviously player fall off happens, and then it goes down, and then it comes back up. This is probably to be expected with a game like this. But this is a good sign. This shows that people come back to the game for the big releases. They play it for a little bit of time and they move on, which, if you've actually seen any interviews with the developers, this is what he expects. He thinks it's preposterous that game companies need to expect to dominate all of your time when it comes to a game. He says he wants to put something out, you come in, you have some fun, you go off for a while, you play your own games. But this is really strong here. It's so interesting that from the first game to the second game, they have doubled doubled their player counts in a absolutely massive way. So word of mouth for this, especially through a lot of YouTubers and online personalities and things like that, really got it out there that this game was going to be absolutely huge. I also think from what I'm seeing too is a lot of Diablo 4 players who have been disappointed with that jumped over here. I've never played Diablo because by the time I was like, oh yeah, no, I could totally check those games out, Blizzard was not the same Blizzard anymore. We don't need to talk about that though. You guys can talk about it in the comments though, and I'll read them because I read all of your comments because I'm a masochist like that. Thank you for all the nice and hateful things you said to me on my last video. Anyway, I digress. So, really interesting here. Again, they're holding out very well, but let's get into the good, the bad, and the salty. Moving over here to Google. This is just an aggregate review. Over here from a lot of people who are talking about it. And a day ago, this is a 5-star review. So here's where I'm at. My favorite game of all time as of right now is still Ghost of Tsushima. I got enamored by it, guys. I don't know why. I just did. I can't explain it. It's just, that's my jam. I love that game. For you, and I would rate my favorite game of all time at like an 8.5 of maybe a 9, like maybe. Because although I was enamored with it, and it was really good, and I got captivated by it, it didn't give me like this life-changing moment, like this is what a video game could be. Like when I play a game like that, I think that I would rate it as a 10, like, oh my God, I didn't realize video games could be this. I've never played a video game that has changed my perspective on what a game could be. Drop some recommendations down below. So if you're giving this a 5 stars, reevaluate a little bit. 4.5 stars, I'll give you 4 stars, but 5, come on guys, come on. It's early access, there's bugs, there's drop rate problems, there are some issues here, right? So it says this game is a gem. If you played Diablo 2 for thousands of hours like I did, this is the follow-up we've always wanted. Even though it is currently early access state, it has been more fun and more worth the money to buy it twice than any game I've bought over the past 15 years. Okay, so he is having that moment that I was talking about, right? Action RPG content that isn't just brain dead. A campaign that is actually difficult and rewarding when you beat the boss, and a battle-tested development team that knows how to harness the power of slot machine systems. That D2 had me hooked through my childhood. I feel bad for my family and job because all I want to do is play. I actually sympathize with that, and it is a problem. Make every class and all available ascendancies. Classes actually play differently and feel different mechanically. People crying are dopamine overloaded babies who crave instant gratification and instantly win and get good mechanics. Okay. They are looking to drain the dopamine out of the game and move on when it tastes like ash in their mouth to play after a week. Wow, that is some brutal criticism there. So we'll filter by all this. So that's a 5-star review. How about a 1-star review? All right, from 4 days ago. The 4-star review. Right now, the game is in early access, which I understand when reading this. Take that into consideration. Okay, as of right now, I'm at the point of pretty much deleting the game and not looking back. This is not the same PoE game I remember playing as a kid. The monsters / bosses are extremely hard to kill, and the characters do 0 damage without high tier armor / weapons. I highly disagree with that take. That's just wrong. That they might take you a few tries to kill, but I do disagree with that. Right now I'm a level 18 in an area with level 15 monsters, and I have to hit them a minimum of 15 to 30 times before they die. My skills are leveled. My skill tree is good. I've had other people check it because I thought my build sucked. Everyone's saying I'm good to go. Clearly, this is not a skill issue. Clearly, you haven't focused on your weapons and armor and upgraded those. because you said your skills are good, but also your weapons and armor contribute to your resistances and your damage. So that's the thing. I've hundreds, if not thousands of hours into PoE 1 and never had an issue with being able to kill normal effing monsters. Not only that, the character list blows. You get 5 options. Well, yeah, it's early access that they said they're gonna double it later. But again, he did say take it into account. Okay. The customization and gems system from 1 is gone. Everyone who is a mage uses the same skill as all the other mages in the game. 0 customization. Yeah, I have kind of noticed that, actually. That's actually a good take. I noticed a lot of people going with like fire mage. They're doing like fire or witch. They're doing like fire witch, either comboed with necromancy. Yeah, I have kind of noticed that. Everybody that my buddy that I've been talking to, some streamers that I've been paying attention to. Yeah, it's really interesting. That hit the meta very fast. And not only that, but it's almost the exact same storyline as 1. To me, it seems they made this game just for a quick money grab. I'm sure there's people who absolutely love this game because they like a sheesh ton. Sorry, YouTube gets very mad when I cuss too much, and I'm a construction worker, and I already cuss way too much on the channel. Of challenge, but for someone like me who plays games for entertainment and relaxation, this sorry excuse of a game, do not waste your money unless they fix it. Ooh. Oh man, oh, the salt on that one. Oh god, dude, that's got enough salt you could almost season a steak with it. Ugh, almost, if you season properly. For those of you who don't know what seasoning is, that's probably too much salt for you. My God. Going over here to the Steam reviews. Let's check this out really quickly. All right, this is a recommended. We'll switch here. We'll change the review type. So there's positive and negative. 50,000 positive, 10,000 negative. All right. And it says I'm nearing the end of Act 2. And I'm loving this game. Finally, an ARPG where I have to think about what I'm doing and not just mindlessly melting hordes of enemies. I have played and enjoyed a few other popular ARPGs, but they always just felt like clicking simulators at the end of the day. I like that I die every now and then, and in PoE 2, against swarms of normal enemies, or need to take a few attempts to clear a boss, it gives the game some challenge and makes it feel more cerebral. This game feels like it was made for real gamers. I don't smell corporate greed at every turn. It seems like their game design and philosophy respect real gamers who are sick of the diluted AAA experience the large companies are trying to force. The graphics, animation, and soundtrack are all top-notch. For the genre, I would highly recommend giving this game a chance in early access or in its full launch. Great work, GGG. I kind of agree that a lot of AAA games lately, a game that I remember just highly disappointed me in its difficulty level and storyline, believe it or not, was like Devil May Cry 5. I loved the Devil May Cry series growing up, and when I was a kid, Devil May Cry 3 absolutely waxed me. Like, I don't even know how many times I died in that game to beat it. On normal mode, right? I'm not a good gamer. I play all of my games on normal because hard mode is just too hard. I die so many times on normal mode, it's not even funny. But you know what? That's my skill. That's just how I am. That's where I am as a gamer. I can't play hyperly challenging stuff, and that's why, for me, Path of Exile 2 feels like a normal level of challenge because I grew up on like old games that actually had puzzle solving, that actually had problem solving, that actually made you do it. But we'll get into that here soon. Let's go look at some salt. We've been without salt for a minute. All right. This one here. After 28 hours, this guy's got a good review. All right. Waited for a long time, was excited to play Sorcerer for 24 hours. The game is fantastic, all I ever wanted from a modern RPG. Then GGG releases a new patch, completely breaks a ton of builds. Well, whatever, it's early access, I might say. The problem is, respecking my build costs way more gold than I have. I'm not even mad at having the wrong gear for a different build. That's manageable. What's not is the fact I have too little gold and no viable way of getting it back without respecking. Sure, I could kill monsters at a ridiculous pace and slowly farm up the gold, but I won't. If you nuke builds into orbit, at least make respecs free or really cheap as long as the game is in early access. People are your play testers and even give you free money. I have a problem. I love everything that he is saying here because I actually do agree with this to a certain extent. We didn't give them free money. We gave them money for a game they've been developing for multiple years. They put in their hard work, effort, and energy and said, hey, if you want to be a part of the early access, we just need some cash, probably to continue paying for the game because they need that extra cash infusion to finish the game. And then on top of that, they also gave you the in-game currency to turn that money that you gave them into microtransactions in the future, so you can get cool looking, gear or even stash tabs and stuff. So again, you didn't give them free money; you gave them money, and they're giving you something back. I don't like that. People are your play. Okay, not starting a new character from scratch only to risk the same thing. It's a shame because I would really love to play the game. That one wasn't very salty, but that brings me to the week in review. So over the weekend, players had an absolute blast. However, drop rates were bad. People complained about getting mobbed and body blocked. And GGG took a bunch of that into account. They went in, they adjusted things so that way players would stop getting, body blocked because apparently they don't have magical skills in the game that help them. I don't know. They also adjusted drop rates to help players, which the drop rates thing was interesting because I wasn't really experiencing this. However, what I realized is that the RNG system was so freaking random that it was making player experiences wildly different. Like when I told my buddy I had a few Artificer orbs, I had a couple of Regals show up, he was like, dude, I haven't had any of that. We were the same level. Now, he's a much better player than I am, so he was making it work. But he wasn't getting any of that stuff until they did the patch, which was really interesting. That was a big thing. Everybody, big proud, big happy. Everyone claps. Yay, GGG. Thank you for fixing this stuff. Thank you for not just letting us phase through enemies, but finding a nice middle ground for the body blocking thing. Even I was like, hey, good job, guys. That's really great. The other thing, though, is they came out and there are some builds out there that are getting absolutely insane. And for instance, today they messed with the gems. I'm not in late game. I don't know what the gems are called. Not only that, I'm bad with names anyway. I couldn't tell you the names of my attacks, the names of the bosses, nothing, because I don't care about the names of the attacks of the bosses. I care about what the bosses do, and I care about what my attacks do. But one of the specking gems that allows you to chain attacks together, right? So if you freeze an enemy, people were calling down a meteor strike to deal with it, or a comet or whatever, which is an absolutely dope thing to do, and it was nuking stuff from orbit. Now they literally decreased that the efficiency of that attack by a magnitude of 10. It takes 10 to 11 times longer to actually get that to pop off. That is way too much, and that bricks builds. And I understand that we are in early access. I have no issue with the game when it's earlier on being at harder difficulties, but I do understand that games, as you progress through them, it should get slightly easier for you for two reasons. One, you're learning better mechanics, you're learning the game, you're playing better, and two, you're getting better gear and stuff like that. The drop rates thing was an issue for a lot of people. They fixed that, so hopefully people are going to start getting better gear now. But when you finally get to a point where you're in the end game, right, and I think the players earned it. They went through the story twice because it's early access. They've leveled up their characters. They've got these awesome builds, and they earned that overpowered move, and it gets nuked from orbit. And now, because these guys were speccing into that and they have no recourse to change what the developers did, I was in the understanding that the difficulty we were facing were bosses and mobs in the game. I didn't actually realize we were playing against the devs. And this is something that they need to pay attention to. Okay, if you're going to start nerfing things, like what they did with the drops is they slightly increased some of them, except for one of them that was dropping almost never. But they're slightly increasing stuff. They're making minor adjustments to the buffs that they need to so players can get the stuff. But when it comes to nerfs, they're just hacking them down. What they need to do is they need to start decreasing this stuff in increments of like 25. I think if they would have said, hey, we're going to nerf this 25% instead of nerfing it 90%, it would have been a very, very different conversation. People would have been like, all right, that makes sense. It is a little OP. Yeah, we get it. So why does GGG not have the same philosophy with nerfing that they do with buffing? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The idea was that they were going to take things slowly and tweak things slowly. But when it came to nerfing these builds that people were finding, they did it very quickly. I think that they need to apply the same philosophy, and I think they need to take the nerfing slowly. They would get a lot less pushback. Builds would still be viable for a long time. GGG would still be able to nerf things and get them down to a proper balance, and they would probably not piss their players off. Again, week 1 has been absolutely insane. I freaking love this game. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm playing a monk. I wasn't sure. I'm like a level 22 right now. I've gotten bodied by a lot of bosses, but that's normal for me. That's a thing. I get bodied by bosses in games. That's just how it goes. And I think I finally decided to go Frost Monk, instead of like this hybrid Frost Lightning thing, because I wasn't really sure. And I was like, do I want to do this? I was kind of like the will they, won't they thing in a show, you know? Well, now I'm going to commit, right? We're not doing will they, won't they anymore. Now I'm going to commit. I'm doing Frost. It's a thing. I'm going to be an Ice Monk. Okay, and now it's maybe the game gets boring for me because there's no more will they, won't they, because every show does that. We'll find out. That's a terrible analogy. I need to go play this game though, and because I need to go play this game because I just want to, and it's consuming my life, and I still have things I have to do, I'm ending this video. Thank you all so much for watching. What are your thoughts on week 1? All of the conversation around it, all of the buffs, the nerfs, the player experience, the difficulty level. I think the difficulty level is fine, but again, I'm a crap gamer, so every game is difficult for me. So my default is I'm gonna get bodied a lot, but I will eventually, through my perseverance and my resolve, get through it. And you know what? It's really gratifying when I do. I want to hear your thoughts. Is GGG on the winning streak right now? Are they not on a winning streak? What do you think they're gonna keep these player numbers? What do you think about having player numbers that are double the original game? Let me know down below. And thank you all so much for checking out A Drink with Crazy. By the way, I got some merch. You guys should go check out some merch. They're pretty cool. I got some, they're like these, they've got these little symbols on it that my wife made years ago. They're super great. You should go check those out. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, until next time, cheers, everybody.